r/ask Reddit. What's the thing that always happens in the movies that never happens in real life? One I never see mentioned. Whenever people play something back, be it a tape recorder, video recording, or whatever, they can always fast forward or rewind to exactly the point they want, with perfect accuracy. Or if they turn on the TV, they get to the exact beginning of a news report that is not only super relevant to the plot, but also way more specific than necessary. Click. John. I'm standing in front of the nuclear-powered thermoaccelerator which was invented by Dr. Emil Schaffhausen, who mysteriously disappeared late last year in what authorities are calling the mystery of the decade. Dr. Schaffhausen, of course, also has an identical twin brother, Dr. David Schaffhausen, who is currently serving life without parole after murdering his wife even though her body was never found. The nuclear-powered thermoaccelerator was due to be completed and operational tonight, but the mainframe has been infiltrated by the nefarious Black Skull hacking group who hold it for ransom. This has caused slight delays on the 10 freeway. I'm Tom Smith, traffic reporter, KSL. Click. I love that in Shaun of the Dead. Dreaming of kissing a beautiful woman but are actually being licked by an animal, or breaking through a window unscathed. I had a professor that taught classes on comics, sci-fi, and pop culture as English classes. We came into class one day to a broken window and his hand wrapped in paper towel. Turns out in his previous class, which was held in the same classroom, while discussing how unrealistic and difficult it is to punch out a window, he attempted to demonstrate by punching one of the classroom windows. Evidently, when the building was getting worked on, some dumbass replaced that window with picture frame glass, which is not nearly as strong as regular window glass, and the professor proceeded to stick his hand through the window. He took it really well, and insisted on teaching our class as well, despite us trying to get him to go to a doctor. Super fun guy. Wish more educators were like him. Edit. Punctuation. Edit 2. Fixed. Edit 1. There used to be a lot like him, but they all bled out. No need for cleanup after sex. I better get to work. Girl gets up, puts lace panties and skirt on. Are they just going to let it drip all over their legs? How are they going to sit at the office all day all yucky and wet? It won't be yucky and wet all day. Actually, in 30 minutes that's gonna get crusty. In movies with any kind of trial scene, there's always a dramatic moment where one of the attorneys presents a witness or piece of evidence that completely changes the course of the trial. Something that neither the judge or opposing attorney knew about. Like, sorry buddy, but the discovery deadline was a month ago. Edit from. To submit materials was a week ago. I realized this came off the wrong way. Just saying discovery is more appropriate. Edit. Thank you for the silver. Edit. I am not an attorney. I'm just a legal assistant training to be a paralegal. One criminal attorney said in a 40-year career he had exactly one trial where someone other than the defendant confessed from the witness stand. Like happened weekly in Perry Mason. Usually new evidence can get presented, but the attorney doesn't do a watch me pull a rabbit out a hat in open count. Lawyer, but wait, I have one last witness to call to the stand. Courtroom doors magically open, and the defendant's dog, who has apparently been waiting outside for this exact moment, walks into the room. Crowd gasps because they thought the dog was dead. Lawyer. The defendant's dog only wags his tail when his owner has been framed for a crime. Judge, this is highly unusual, but oh well, I suppose I'll allow it. Dog proceeds to wag his tail. Judge bangs gavel aggressively. Without any input from the jury, that's it. I find the defendant not guilty. Young professionals or college students living in HUUUGE, fully furnished apartments in the city. Money in general is completely ignored in movies. Transactions of any kind are avoided because they're slow and unnecessary to the plot. No one that rents a car is shown renting the car unless it's a setup. No one is showing getting groceries unless there is some exposition being done with narrative voice or the character needs a place to bump into someone. No one needs gas until they're in too much of a hurry to stop. I can't even count how many times actors walk out on their tabs. Transactions of any kind are avoided because they're slow and unnecessary to the plot, except for pulls out random amount of cash without counting it and throws it on the bar/counter while already walking away. Skype streams with 1080p and 120 frames per second. There was some war movie that actually got this right. Guy was skyping his wife and kids and it was all choppy, bad connection and the whole 9 yards. It made me weirdly happy. Transformers did it to edit. This is my most upvoted comment, THX guys. Becoming popular after taking down your ponytail and removing your nerdy glasses. I dunno. At my school we had this girl who was crazy nerdy and annoying, but then she showed up for our Christmas dance looking hot with this beautiful pink dress and dating an actual professional athlete. Everyone was like, oh my god, get a look at Hermione Soshi. Hang on, this might be a movie. In the book she had to use a shit ton, actual magical measurement, of magical hair straightener as well as use magic to get rid of her buck teeth. I've never seen anyone apprehend criminals while causing millions and millions in damage to the city. The movies never show the 7 years worth of lawsuits against the city that follow. Edit. Alright, there's a handful of movies that do show it, but stodgy I learned. I sent that the plot of Captain America Civil War, it's also addressed in Spider-Man Homecoming. Characters can hear every word of dialogue perfectly in a noisy environment. Captain frantically whispering to the private, I need you to charge that machine gun nest. Private, I can't hear you, I'm completely deaf from 3 hours of constant gunfire. My grandpa actually lost most of his hearing in Pearl Harbor. He was shouting for hours on end. His hands were scorched. No way they could hear each other talk during that. Edit. I meant shooting, not shouting. But I imagine it was both. Subverted in Black Hawk Down, where firing a squad automatic weapon next to a ranger's head has precisely the expected result. The phone only rings to move the plot along. IRL, my phone only rings due to scammers or bots calling from an Arlington, VAR number. Yes, all my best friends call me. Toll free, unknown number, invalid number. Once got one where they spoofed my own number. That was amusing. I do like the cold call for a newspaper subscription in Boiler Room. Guns with no recoil and not going deaf despite not wearing hearing protection when firing that M4 indoors single-handedly and taking down every bad guy with one shot per guy and no reloading. Also, every handgun sounds like a loosely attached jumble of metal pieces that make several noises every time the main character aims at a different target. You've never moved a 38 to one side and heard what sounded like a Borg drone? Lead actor sits down at bar, get me a beer. Movie bartender silently gets beer. Real life bartender, what? What kind of beer? We've got 20 beers on tap and an extensive bottle list. Do you want a menu or something? Edit. Purely in the interest of science, I went to my local this evening and asked the bartender if anyone ever comes in and just orders a beer with no other information. He said, yeah, sometimes. I asked him what he does when they do that. I tell them that's like walking into a deli and ordering a sandwich. Or the bartender reaches below the bar and gets out a full glass of beer. When the mother of the house has spent 4 hours making breakfast for the whole family with like 3,832,523 ingredients that cover the entire kitchen table, and the dad or son or whatever walks by, grabs an apple and says they don't have time to eat because they're late for work, I'm pretty sure that person could be legally murdered in real life. They don't get murdered because they duck back in to kiss the mother and she smiles and sighs. The scenes where she sits down in a now empty silent house before opening a bottle of wine and popping prescription painkillers are implied. Genius movie making emo. Sean Bean dying. He literally never dies in real life. Edit. Everyone calling me a jinx, so we'll double down. My mother-in-law is indestructible. She will literally never die or get sick or at the very least move away. Edit 2. Big Little Kid 87's Mill is never gonna die either. Especially not the 5th of January, 2019 at 4:32 PM. Edit 3. I will 100% guarantee that everyone's in-laws that they hate will live long and healthy lives with no problems at all. They will 100% not die or get injured anytime soon. Superheroes. All of them. Edit 4. U/Lobster Spit. No. Edit 5. I am not a genie. If he dies soon, everyone will be after your blood. Duck. I jinxed him, didn't I? A bunch of students in their late 20s in high school. That joke and Scary Movie is great because Regina Hall was actually like 27 in that movie if I recall correctly. This makes more sense when you're older. I've discovered that as I age it gets hard to tell how old young people are. We had some college graduates come into work for us, and when I first saw them my thought was, where did these high schoolers come from? LOL. The way actors dramatically circle each other while they're having conversations. It's something stage actors are taught to do to make the scene more dynamic. But it's not something people ever actually do in real life. Imagine chatting with your buddy somewhere and he just starts circling you mid-conversation. So anyway, I think we should. Where are you going? What is happening right now? The other person faces the other way, toward the camera, as they continue to talk. This one drives me nuts. Hey, can you ducking look at me while I'm talking to you? This is an important conversation we're having. People shrugging off a flesh wound like it's nothing. They even say it's just a flesh wound. The movie Last Action Hero does a good job of mocking this by having Jack Slater incur a flesh wound in the real world, and it's a big deal. But then he goes into the movie world and it's barely a scratch. In fact, Last Action Hero has a lot of examples, like people being able to punch through car windows, or the women working at Blockbuster being way too attractive. Edit. I have been informed that people can punch through car windows just fine, but my point was that, as in Last Action Hero, you'll be injured doing so. Sorry everyone. Carry on. Yeah, I saw this one movie that took place in medieval times and there was a sword fight where a guy lost all 4 limbs and just shrugged it off. Totally unrealistic. To be fair, that was just a scratch. Boarding a plane after the gate has closed. No, not even for true love. I'm sure she loves you too, but you're now going to be detained under anti-terrorism laws. And we're gonna have to check inside your ass. Fluid, witty and well-rounded dialogue where the characters never do stuff like pause, mumble, hesitate, miss a reference, have nothing to say, etc. Lucky number 11. Unlimited ammunition during gunfights, minus John Wick where they do it correctly. Is there anything John Wick can't do correctly? I was watching some videos of him running 3 guns. That man is well trained. Edit. I'm getting drunk tonight and watching John Wick. Phone call. Turn on the TV. Exactly the correct station at the beginning of the news story the person called about. That actually happened once in my life. 9/11. It didn't matter what station I was on as it was only covering that. Wait, I can explain. Troy. I can explain. Long silence. Troy. Let me explain. More silence. A bed. I can explain. Long silence. A bed. Oh. I thought you'd keep yelling over me. Okay, I can explain. Having more than 2 best friends that live conveniently next door. Edit. Thank you for the silver. Hell, even having more than 2 regular friends would already be unrealistic. Willpower seems to be greater than any injury in every movie. 4 broken ribs, countless lacerations, and eyes swelled shut probably won't be remedied by the time you are fighting the next wave of baddies. Saw one where a girl falls 100 feet off a cliff and is impaled on a tree, gets off the tree and goes back to kill the bad guys. Worst one I've ever seen. That sounds like Tomb Raider if I'm not mistaken. It's true to the source material. I mean, if she didn't do that people would be pissed. Edit. Please stop sending me revenge links. Apparently there were 2 films last year that left a woman speared in a ravine. I'm not up, I cannot confirm which it was. Car chasers never encounter traffic jams. Die Hard 3 when they're in New York. The filming of Die Hard 3 was so ingrained in NYC that summer it was filmed that the traffic reports on radio had to announce where it was being shot that day so you could avoid the traffic it created. If a girl is arguing with you in real life and you kiss her to shut her up, she will most likely not appreciate it. When soldiers die on the battlefield in movies, it's usually a whole ordeal with last words and grunting and the injured soldier slowly becoming lifeless as a buddy holds him in his arms. All the while the battle seemingly lulls off as this one random guy is dying. This just doesn't happen. Usually battlefield deaths are quick and very sudden. A lot of the time the guy hit either isn't noticed until later or is dead before they hit the ground. Saving Private Ryan opening scene was great. The guy looking for his arm, or huddled behind the anti-tank things. That guy screaming for mama. people cough and it's always indicative of an incoming terminal illness. A phone rings and it's terrible pertinent news. In real life people cough because there's something tickling their throat or because they swallowed something funny. You answer a phone call and Liz is trying to sell you a cheap stay in Las Vegas even though you've told that dunt to duck off more than 3 times in the last month. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.